Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the Eachine E010S. And the S must stand for Super because they've used the red Racer Star 59,000 RPM coreless motors. So I'm excited to try these. I've actually had a set in my bins, but I have not ventured them out yet. I've been so busy doing all those brushless indoor flyers. Mine is a FlySky board, pretty easy to bind up. We've got an obvious resemblance to many of the frames we've seen before. We have a F3 based flight controller in here. Mine's a FlySky version. We also have the EF02 camera, I believe, here. And that's a camera that's nice and small and light, so all good things for us microflyers. It does come with a battery. This battery here, it's a 150 milliamp. And it's the same size and shape as the previous 150 milliamp batteries they've been selling. So if you want more, you can go out and find those, no problem. It also comes with a separate set of props, and it comes with a little charger. I'm not a huge fan of these micro low C connectors. Long term, I would probably swap them out for JST, mainly because these things can really bite down on your battery and be hard to get out without just tugging on the wires, and I really don't like tugging on the wires. So what I typically do is I will take a Dremel. Let me see if I can get this nice and close on my camera to focus, and take this little nub off of each side. I'll just take it clean off, because once you get the battery connected far enough all the way down seated, the friction is going to keep it from coming out. There's no reason to have those nubs. Those nubs there really hold it in. We also have a couple of matching nubs on this side. It's probably not coming through in camera here, but there's a little white bit that sticks out. So when those two things go together, then when you pull them apart, at least with my fingers, I have a difficult time getting apart. What I end up doing is pulling on the battery wires, and I don't like doing that. So switching out for JST is long-term probably something I would do. Binding is pretty straightforward. I use the FSI6, the classic. You do have to turn off the AFHD S2A. The newer version of the protocol it's not compatible with, but that is oftentimes the case when it comes to the FlySky protocol. What I do is I use my blue tack, stick it down in there, press and hold down on the button, get my power in there, and then in the front, kind of underneath this camera lens, a blue light will be flashing, and then you do the binding procedure. In the case of the FlySky, you hold down this button while you're turning on the power. It'll enter binding mode, and once that is completed, you are pretty much set to go. Now, I have an admission to make here as I clean up my desk. I cannot show you anything about this board. This is a half-baked review, and I apologize for that. I really didn't want it to be that way, but I have tried and tried and tried. This USB port seems to function at some level, but I can't make it work. I can't get into it to where I can load beta flight or clean flight. I don't know what's actually on this. So do your homework, watch other reviews, see what's inside of it. It flies fine, but I can't change my rates, I can't change the PIDs, I can't change anything about it because I don't have access to the board. So I'm going to go ahead and fly it. This will be a true stock-only flight. You'll get to see how it operates truly out of the box. No changes whatsoever. And it could be ugly because I'm used to certain rates of flight, but I will do my best. So let's go do it. Okay, we're going to do a thrust test because I thought this was fairly significant to see. Okay, let's bring it in a little bit closer. 1, 2, 3. That was not even all the way full throttle. It's I'm gonna hit the ceiling, but I'm gonna try again. 1, 2, 3. It's got that annoying hiss to the motors. If you change your PWM rate to 32,000, that will make that sound a little less annoying. That whining noise. And you can see I've got some yaw movement, but again, my USB port does not work properly, so I can't tune it. Let's try to do a full punch from the ground. 1, 2, 3. Up. That's what happens when I do a full punch in the house.
Okay, I thought you'd want to see that. Pretty important stuff. Pretty impressive. But it can also mean shorter flight times.
Getting into the actual flight here, and the first thing that you'll probably notice is that the camera is not pointed straight, but of course that's just stuck on with a little bit of tape. We can solve that ourselves just by pulling the camera off and adjusting, and I did not notice that the first 5 or 6 times I flew this thing. I actually didn't notice until I started reviewing the footage. I knew my first few flights weren't very good, so I didn't actually review the DVR footage. As I started getting a little bit more used to the vehicle and I was reviewing the footage, I did notice. Also, my first few flights were very, call them humpy, to where I was going up and down a lot, and that is due to the sensitivity of the throttle and the thrust within these motors. The motors seem quite powerful, and that's the reason why I showed the thrust test that I did with just trying to go to 100% throttle, but of course that resulted in me bouncing off the ceiling. So I think this combination of a nice light frame, good powerful motors, and a camera that has a good quality image to it is a good combination. Unfortunately, I can't... Oh, watch this as I try to go through this little... I've never been through here before, but I do make it. It's clumsy, but I make it. Trying to line up a spot, go for it, and bump all over the place, but out we go. But I can't comment about the tune that's on this. I'm flying in angle mode. Angle mode tends to hide a lot of the flaws within a tune because of the self-leveling aspect. And it is quite a challenge to fly when you're using rates that are very different. And I had to spend some time getting used to that. Fortunately for me, you know, I have a bunch of these batteries laying around, so I was able to just charge 10 or so up and then fly a number of times in the evenings and then come back the next day and do the same thing until I started getting a little bit more used to not only being in angle mode, because I've been flying a lot in acro with the indoor brushless quads I've been doing, but also just getting used to the different rates. It almost feels like you're flying someone else's quad, which when I got done with all this, I started thinking about, you know, I might be able to fly with different rates, and maybe I should explore changing my own rates on everyday copters. I'm not sure I'm going to do that, but it was a thought that I had as I got more used to this, and enjoyed this quad quite a bit. I wish I could show you what's under the hood in Betaflight or Clean Flight. I presume Betaflight. A lot of these boards have been coming with Betaflight. And recently, Les over at Painless 360 had a larger discussion about the future of Clean Flight and what is going to happen with Betaflight being at the core rather than Clean Flight being at the core. But that's pretty much the end of the flight. If you have any comments or questions, please leave those in the section down below. And thank you for watching.